Hey, what's going on, everybody? So, this is the weekend prep going into the week of March 1st, 2026. So, I'm just here, getting the coffee going. Haven't really looked at charts too much. I've been kind of looking at all the news that's happening, but I'll be looking at everything fresh with you. So, we'll just kind of walk into it. So, first thing, pulling up our ATAS X. Just kind of quick look at how did volume end along with price, comparing QQQs or the ETFs versus futures. And so you can see here on the Qs, lots of buying to end Friday. For futures, we're pretty much muted. So that is interesting there. Lots of selling on the SPY, but then bullish on ES. So it's kind of flipped. Like NQ is more bullish on the ETF. SPY is more bullish on futures, or SPX or whatever you want to say, the market, S&P. There you go. So that's interesting. And then for gold, we agree to the downside. It looks like for Friday, big downside on the ETF on GLD, not so big on futures. But I would say gold is the only thing that agrees. So we'll just have to see how all that plays out. I mean, we'll look at things on Monday. Like, we got some craziness happening over the weekend, which I'm sure everybody is aware of. So we'll just kind of walk right into it. I'm looking at everything fresh with you, so we'll just kind of see what we see. But first thing, I'm sure everybody has seen this, but apparently the U.S. is going to war with Iran and has done some targeted drone strikes for certain leaders. I don't follow it too closely. I don't know really who's who. But it seems like a big deal. And, I guess for anybody who may have family out there, I hope everybody is safe. I actually have some extended family who lives in Dubai, and apparently they are, they're like in lockdown as far as like air travel and all that. And like you can actually hear the bombs happening out there. So that is kind of nerve-wracking for folks. So hopefully that's all right. And I guess for folks who have family in the military, hopefully they don't get pulled into all this. But yeah, this is happening. And I think the timing is interesting because we have, I mean, obviously all the Epstein file stuff, right? And then we also have election day, midterm election. I think they're voting on the House and other things on the 3rd or Tuesday, which is the 3rd. Um, and so, try not to read too much into that from a political perspective, but the timing is very interesting, right? Because now we're in war, and to have any major shifts in political focus and all that stuff, right, is not ideal, right? Because in theory, you would want the people who have engaged in this war to see it through, and so that is interesting. But nevertheless, we are in war, and so we'll just see how that works. I guess from a market perspective, I think longer term, war is, for better or worse, good for the market. Like, it tends to go up. You think back to Ukraine, you think back to other wars, like it drops down and it goes back up usually. So, we'll see how that goes. So yeah, that is happening. I think we probably go down on Monday, my guess, right? And then from there, we kind of see where things end up and kind of creep our way back up. But hey, you never know. So that is just something to keep in mind. We looked at it on ATAS-X already, as far as like how price and everything, or at least how volume looked. But just kind of looking at price, like gold breaking out. SPY tried to break out, then reversing back into its little near-term uptrend situation here, but it's in this range. Same thing for the Qs. Like, we're just in this area, this area where it's breaking, where it broke down, and just kind of in this resistance area. And then it closed kind of indecision candle, more or less. And there's like this little trend line that it's holding. So, that's just kind of where we are. We just have to kind of see what happens. I was expecting Nvidia to do something. And Nvidia earnings were good from what I could tell. But good is not good enough anymore. So we'll see. We're just hanging out. So there's that. Looks like VIX was lower high is all the way up. And so now we're kind of wedging here, I guess. This is what's happening. So, but I would expect maybe this goes higher on Monday, given the war situation. So let's see. I mean, I guess maybe we gap down, potentially, right? We'll just see how that works. I think if we 2400s is kind of the key level for me. So, you know, I will put my alert here and just see if that gets hit. Let's see what happens. So there you go. Gold, I think I said already, it's breaking out. It is strong. Like that is up, up, up. That is up. So there you go. And maybe even more so now with the war. Russell sideways, Dow sideways. So yeah, I mean, we'll see what Monday brings, but maybe with the war, down seems to be the way, especially with gold being that alternative safe haven. Been going up anyways, so that's what's going on there. On the news, I think all of this, I mean, you know, we have stuff on, I guess nothing on Monday. Or no, Monday is, so Tuesday is Monday. We got the PMI flash stuff for manufacturing. Not too worried about that. More PMI flash on Wednesday. Jobless claims on Thursday. Oh, NFP on Friday. So that'd be a big deal. So going into the back half of the week, there's some volatility. But I think opening up on Monday, there'll be volatility given everything that's happening. Strikes. Moody's US strikes credit negative. I guess that's a bad thing. So there you go. Military stuff in Iran. So we'll just see how Monday shakes out. And I guess we got Target earnings. Oh, we have Target earnings and then we got Broadcom earnings this week as well. So that is a big deal for the SPY. So we'll keep that in mind. Also, Costco, a big deal for SPY. I think Baba's in NQ, Oracle is NQ, but that's on the 10th, so next week, or next week. So this week coming up is kind of a big deal for SPY. We got Berkshire, we got Target, we got Broadcom, and we got Costco. So we'll just see. That's all kind of Target, Costco, consumer, Broadcom, tech, telecom, Berkshire, financials, and all that stuff. So yeah, next week will be good. Next week, I mean, good for the market volatility anyways. So there's that. All right, so moving really quickly on how things looked for the ETF versions of what we care about. So on the Qs, turning bearish towards the end of week, lots more. I mean, yeah, I guess we were more bullish. But let's say, what is this, Monday? More bullish Monday, Tuesday. Calls, volume up, and then puts started to win out and price fell. On the SPY, it's interesting, very muted to start the week, but price did increase. More calls and then pretty muted. So a little bit more indecision on SPY, but I think it's clearly bearish at the end of the week for Qs. Gold just up. And it's interesting, I think bearish option flow is kind of winning out, but then I guess towards Friday, bullishness kind of won, but we've been grinding up regardless of all this. I mean, I guess these folks on last week, all this call option, depending on your expiry, like you definitely won that bet. So there you go. VIX looks muted on Friday, so it doesn't seem like anybody knew about the war stuff. So there you go. Dow bearish, RTY. Oh, it looks like more bearish bets here, but volume was a little bit mixed. So, you know, DIA, IWM looks like SPY. I think the only clear bearishness was Qs. So there you go for sentiment. For Friday, looks like on the Qs, everybody, well, bearish on Friday and then still bearish on the Qs, but not really elevated. So there you go. SPY bearish on Friday, kind of mixed on the holdings, but you know, volume was bearish. So I think that is kind of the sentiment going into Friday. Like people were betting for more downside. So there you go. For GEX levels, I'll look at this on when we do our Monday snapshots. I did want to call out, so I'm a geek for new tools, definitely. So I like Gex levels and all that. I think this app that I use, I liked it because it had the trading view indicator that plotted it on there. The only challenge was this wasn't real time. You know, there was updated every few minutes or whatever. And so I came across this new tool, which is TradeGex, which is meant to be updated every second, which is really cool. And it shows you the dealer exposure levels here on the left and also your gamma exposure on the right. So gamma exposure will tell you the expected behavior of hedge of like what type of hedging will happen, meaning that like if it's green, they should kind of peg and try to keep price there. If it's red, you would expect if price flushes or spikes that there will be continuation. So I like to kind of see that. And then dealer exposure basically just shows the concentration of what type of positions dealers have. And so when it gets to certain levels, like this level, you would expect them to short or sell into it because that's kind of the positions that they have. And so I thought this was cool because one, it updates in real time. So I'll just see how that works with like intraday trading. But then also you have on the left, it's showing NQ, but the source for this option flow is the QQQ. So it's pulling from the Qs and overlaying it. And then on the right, it's the NDX, which is the like SPX equivalent for NQ. And so you get to kind of see both sides of the market, right? Like the actual indices versus the actual ETF, right? So it's kind of interesting. You get to see more levels, and then if things do agree, or if things diverge, you know, it might be interesting for trading. So I'll be kind of testing this out. I think this is a brand new tool. Like I don't think it's been around that long. So I'm literally I like to try new things. So this is just a new thing that I'm trying. And so yeah, that's kind of what it is. It's only for the futures indexes. So it's, you know, like if you're trading futures, I did talk to them. I'm trying to see if they can build an integration with ATASX. So we'll see if that pans out. And then once we get the single stock futures, I think that'll be super good. But you can also have the same thing for ES where you have SPY and SPX levels plotted. So anyways, I will be playing with this and having this as far as my morning snapshot. So just wanted to call that out. We'll just see how those things shake out. All right, so moving on to the top 8. So Nvidia, right? Like we had earnings and it still looks like NQ, like it's just in the range. So there you go. Apple holding up in the range. Microsoft looks like we're kind of basing here, maybe not quite trying to base. So we'll see. Broadcom has earnings, so we'll see if we just sell off into that and spike back up. Amazon trying to reclaim. Tesla holding up. Meta, you know, it's holding up, and then Apple's holding up as well. So nothing looks other than Microsoft, and we just have to see what happens to Broadcom at earnings. Like nothing seems, and maybe Amazon, but it's pushing back up. Nothing seems super bearish. So we'll just see. I guess we'll see if Broadcom leads us down potentially. But I guess I was expecting more from Nvidia. Didn't quite happen yet, so we'll just kind of see how that plays out. And then yeah, on the options flows front, like lots of people betting to the upside for Nvidia, which did play out. So that is good, but then, you know, didn't play out as much as I would think. And then now we're selling off. Not much happening in Apple, kind of muted. Microsoft, I mean, there was some bullish bets and looks like bearish bets won out on Thursday. We kind of fell over. For Broadcom, people are betting to the upside, and then we fell down. So I wonder what the expiry is on these for ahead of earnings. So let's see. Muted on Amazon, more bearish Tesla, muted on Meta, muted on Google, but it's holding up pretty well. So not really big. I mean, other than like Broadcom, which had a lot of call volume here on Wednesday, like not really big directional bets. Meta had some big calls here, but then depending on your expiration, not so favorable. So we'll just kind of see. Yeah, so I mean nothing really stands out for me here, so I'll just kind of leave that alone. I would expect this to kind of continue as far as money being put into like the safe haven sectors. So you got energy pushing up, you got industrials still coiling there, you got staples coiling, you got utilities coiling. So you got healthcare is going up. So I mean, all the kind of sectors that you need, that's where the money's being put, and we're going higher. And growth sectors are kind of in the range sideways, looking like the SPY and the Qs. So nothing new on that front. We'll skip the options for now. So I think the interesting thing to call out for metals and all that is, yeah, Bitcoin is still going lower. I got my alerts here at 50 and 30. So let's just see if we get there. Oil turning around. I expect that to go higher, I guess, with the Iran conflict. So we'll see if we break out of this downward channel situation. So we'll see how that goes. Gold might be something to watch, right? Like, look at this. So gold's clearly breaking out. Copper, like breaking, starting to kind of break all this resistance. It poked higher, so let's see. What is this? Palladium broke higher, coiling up. Silver broke above and closed above that resistance after it broke down. And so, like there was this breakdown level in gold that I thought maybe would be a good short, but we clearly just broke above that and we are holding above it. We have a long way to go before that happens in silver. So it feels like there's more upside. Like, I think maybe gold falls over once we get to this point in silver. But there's more upside on silver, I think, to behave like gold. So let's see, maybe gold even tests near highs and stuff. Not sure. So that's something that I will keep on watch. I mean, sure, the metals can always go down, but I think if you are looking for a safe haven, Bitcoin is not it right now. And there's the whole war situation, so there you go. And I guess quick look on the options flow here. Let's see, for Bitcoin, a little bit more bearish bets here on Friday. So we'll just see how that plays out. Oil, interesting. So oil on Friday, lots of kind of selling volume, but like mixed on options, right? Like calls and premium are kind of neck and neck, but they've increased. So lots of activity here, which is interesting, right? And so maybe somebody knew something, but it hasn't really like manifested itself quite yet. So we'll just keep an eye on that. Gold up. I mean, we looked at that already. Silver, bullish. So bullish on Friday. So we'll keep an eye on that. Palladium, bearish, relatively speaking. So we'll see how that goes. And then copper, kind of neutral. But it's interesting that there's bullishness on silver. And then there's a lot of just activity on the options front in oil on Friday. And then, bearish for Bitcoin there. So we'll definitely keep an eye on things. I think gold is definitely on my watch going into next week. We'll just kind of see how things play out there. And then I guess to close us out for the weekend review here. So Friday snapshot, bearishness on the Qs slightly. Gold still bullish like we've been saying. VIX going up, Bitcoin's down, oil, silver, palladium, all that is bullish, which we saw. Top 8 equities, man. I guess for this in the near term, lots of bearishness. So not ideal. Amazon seems to be the strongest one. Google's pretty neutral. Google is important because they're the one that are holding us up for sure. Broadcom is very bearish, and so we'll have to see how earnings kind of shakes out there. Growth sectors, super bearish, discretionary, neutral, and then super bullish on the things that you need. So there you go. Cool. So yeah, I guess going into next week, I'm definitely, I guess my bias would be to near-term downside on equities and a near-term upside on gold. That is the obvious thing in my mind, but you have to be surprised. You have to be open to being surprised. So we'll see how we go. And then also there's election. There's like the midterm election On Tuesday, people are voting. So if you're in the US, definitely vote. And we'll just see how we go. But I think, and also we got the earnings and stuff and non-farm payroll. So next week should be pretty volatile for sure. So, you know, I would say there'll be lots of opportunities next week. So don't rush into anything. And, every candle is an opportunity. So cool. Well, that's it for me. Good luck. Thanks for sticking around and don't get caught. Thank you.